Okay, YouTubers, this is Joe from ArtAlienTV. Now, I've got a couple of things here for you today. I'll try not to be too long here. Another quick game of I Spy going on back in Gale Crater on Mars. Now, there's a couple of interesting things here. Now, one of them may be what I think it is, and the other one may be not what I think it is. Very hard to say exactly with these things when you have low quality images. Now, the first thing came from this image. Now, this was in fact first posted on Facebook by Nev T. Thompson from the Mars Discoveries and Solar System Anomalies group on Facebook. Now, if you're not a member of this group, I advise that if you're into this sort of thing, go onto the page and ask to join, and it's really cool. You'll get all the stuff first here. Really, this is the place to be. If you're into Mars anomalies, this is where it's all happening. And Nev is actually the guy who does all the Gigapan images, which are, some of them are just awesome. Well, most of them are awesome, if you ask me. There's so much to see in the Gigapan stuff. And he often posts stuff on here first before he's even finished it. So you would get to see stuff way before anyone else. So well worth a look. So credit to him for this particular thing. Now, if you look at this, he's done a very basic clip of it here, and then put it in this image here, and you can see what looks like a tangled mess, but almost like a person with a face, and just a load of kind of weird pipes and structures in here. Now, when I first saw this, I sort of thought, oh yeah, it's just a pile of tangled sort of rock or some kind of material. But then I thought, well, let's have a closer look. You know, you never know with these things until you actually enhance them. Now, here's the source image. Okay, here's the page. It's from Sol 1105, and you can find it quite easily. It's near the top of the page, but there will be a link to this below anyway. But it's worth looking through the sets of images, because you never know, there might be something else. And there's lots of weird little tangly kind of twisted up rocks and formations in here. Very weird stuff going on. Some of it may be metallic, where it's kind of eroded and encrusted. This area was probably underwater just here, well, at least some of it. But there's also this guy. Now, I actually found this last night whilst browsing through Sol 1107. Okay, here's the page for it. This one here. And there's some interesting rocks in 1107, and some of them look like they've got glyphs on, and some of them look blatantly carved or manufactured. Stone blocks, there's all sorts of stuff in there. I haven't even been through the whole set properly yet. But I looked at this image and I saw what looks like a coffin, an open casket or stone coffin with a corpse in it. Now, you can't see it very well here yet, but when I show you the enhancements, you will, well, maybe you agree with me, I don't know. I could be wrong. I could be misinterpreting a tangled pile of crap on the ground, which is easily done. But there are other burial items in this area, and this is one of them. I'll show you a bit more of that in a minute if you haven't already seen this. And there's also this one, which has got glyphs on the side of it, which looks like a stone coffin, similar to some you might see in Europe back in, you know, a couple of thousand years ago, or in the Middle East perhaps, even further back. So I'll crack on with it. I'll try not to be too long here, but this is an exercise in Pareidolia yet again, like my previous video, with the skull or statue head, whatever it is. Now, first of all, I'll show you this. Hang on a minute, I've got the wrong folder up here. Here we go. First of all, I'll show you this guy. Now, here's the raw image from NASA. Now, when you zoom in, it turns to absolute crap, as they usually do. It's been badly downsized, as I always say. But this looks like a sort of figure. And it looks like a face here, and something here, and like an arm, and some weird stuff going on in here. But you really can't see any detail. This is why they downsize them. This destroys any close detail in the image. Okay, so I took a raw clip. Here we go, is the raw clip. Nothing done to that. I've just enlarged it a bit but you can still see that there's loads of these blocky sort of lines going through it. So the way to get rid of that is to blur it, which I've done on this one. Now let's go to the first one there. Okay. Now I've just gone around it, drawn a box around it and blurred it and white balanced it. Now I've got rid of those compression blocks. And I've added some contrast in there as well, and a bit of brightness. And when you go in close, or if you go in too close, obviously it breaks up. But there's some crazy stuff in here. And when I first looked at it, I thought this looks like a guy with his head here, 2 eyes and a nose and a mouth, with something coming out of the mouth, something green just here. There's a kind of pipe going across here, or something being held. This looks like like a hand perhaps here, and an arm here, but it doesn't make any visual sense. Now, I've gone in a bit deeper and enhanced it a bit more. This is the final enhancement. I'll show you that now, because I've brightened that up a bit more. And I've done a little bit of enhancement work on these details here, and added some little bits of dark and light, just to highlight what's already there. I haven't gone too crazy with it. And I've sharpened it a little bit and then softened it a bit. And there's something crazy here. Now I can't work out what this is. There's something really strange just there, which is like a tangled mess, like a pile of rope, or maybe some kind of metallic piping or tubing or something. Now I have no idea what that is. Just this here, and it seems to be growing or going up this object, almost like a vine or something, like some kind of organic growth. It looks kind of like some kind of crawling plant or something, and it's crawled up this thing, whatever it is, and there's organic growth on it, and a lot of this is green. You've got green here, you've got green here, you've got green here and green here. Now, this to me looks like, I don't know. I really don't know. I've never seen anything quite like it. It really is quite insane. And when you get too close, it doesn't actually get any clearer. I'll go back a little bit to about there, and you can probably, there we go. You can probably see it better now. Now there's some kind of thing, like a leg here or something, and there's a bar going across here, and there's what looks like a head there. But I mean, this may not be a head. I appreciate that. It just looks like one because it looks like it's got 2 eyes, a nose, and a mouth here. And something weird on top here. But the weird thing about this is this kind of looks almost like a plant that's growing up it with branches and perhaps some leaves here. These green bits, maybe leaves. But when you actually look at it more carefully, and I didn't realise this initially, but when I went back to the Facebook page where Nev T's post is, let's go back to here. Now he's done some clever little diagrams here, and actually the artifact or object or whatever it is joined to the rock behind it. There's a bit of this is a really good Pareidolia exercise, because actually he's done a diagram here where you can see the artifact here, which looks a bit like a little dude carrying something like a metal bar or something, but it is actually joined to this rock, and this rock kind of sticks up like a little hut almost, and this is almost like where the entrance of a hut might be or something like that, or just a shelter. Now it's so strange. It's a real puzzle, this one, and if I show you it in here, you'll get my drift a bit better. Now when I first enhanced it, here's the first enhancement here, this one. Now I just went round it and just enhanced that object, but sometimes when you do that, it cuts you off from the rest of the image, and you can often take the artifact out of context and not look at it in the grander scheme of things. And where this is concerned, that's a definite, because you can actually see these weird tubes or pipes or branches or whatever they are. They come off here and then go into the background here. They're actually joined here. And it's actually joined here to this. But because I've cut it off like that, you can't really tell. So let's move that one out of the way and look at the bigger picture. Now this one is a very quick enhancement I've done. I haven't gone and highlighted it so much here, but I just kind of sharpened it and white balanced it and stuff. But you can see now that this looks like it's joined to the background rock here, because this kind of comes over its shoulder and kind of joins on, as does this here, and this kind of sticks into it as well. So this is a fine example of how these poor quality obfuscated images from NASA that are downsized and ruined by JPL. It's a fine example of how these can mislead you, but it still doesn't explain what this thing is, because it does to me. You know, if you white balance it and add some contrast to it, all these greens pop out. There's all this green stuff here. So it could well be something very interesting at the end of a sort of rocky outcrop that's died or something, or it could be some kind of mechanical thing, and something could be growing up it. So it could be a mixture of artifacts here. Not only is there a sort of, you know, if you look at it in the raw image here, it's terrible quality. But you can see there that rock kind of comes to here, then it comes down and is joined here, and then this kind of joins on at the bottom. Whether that's a plant or not, I don't know. But it's very, very hard to tell with these poor quality images. They're messing with your eyes, they're messing with your depth perception. This is why they filter them and degrade them and distort them in such a way. It's almost impossible with some of these things to tell what they are and what they're joined to, whether they're in front or behind. It really is a real puzzle with some of this stuff. And I'm sure that's absolutely why they do it. It absolutely makes it very, very difficult sometimes to tell what you're looking at, and whether it's facing one way or the other, or whether it's joined to the background. Or this is a perfect example, absolutely perfect example of that. So this really is a Pareidolia exercise, this one, because not only is it a very odd, and it seems to have a head with a face here, but there's all this tangled material here, and there's some quite intricate details in here, with bits kind of going in and out of each other like branches or tubes, just here and here. Look, you've got tubes coming off this thing, or branches coming off and going into this object and coming back out and going round and then up and then over this bar thing here and then up to the top here, and then there's this green bit going into what looks like the mouth of whatever this dude is or object is, just here. I mean, this is insane, absolutely insane. I've never seen anything quite like it, really. It really is extraordinary. And quite different from most of the things I've seen on the surface of Mars. And I have found many things. This one is incredible. It really is unbelievably strange. This has got to be up there in the top 5 weird finds of 2015, I should say. And underneath here, you've got this kind of weird piping here, with kind of bits coming off it, and the dark shadows in between. Now, there's a limit to what detail you can get from this, obviously, because it's a poor image. But I've spent a bit of time on this, and I've highlighted these parts and some of the shadows just to try and work out what's going on. But it does look like whatever this is kind of going and joining on here. You can see it joining there, like a little pipe coming off there, or branch, or whatever it's supposed to be. And it's kind of joined, it's almost like it's growing out of the rock, whatever it is, perhaps. And maybe it's crawling along the ground from here and not the other way round. Answers on the postcard with this one, guys. I really have no idea what it is. I'm just kind of clasping at straws, really, trying to work out what that is. Really, really strange. So, yeah, I'll put a close-up of this in at the end with everything else, okay? Now, let's crack on, because there's another thing which I wanted to show you, which is also extremely strange indeed. Let's move these out of the way and get on to there. Let's get rid of that. Now, this is the Sol 1107 artifact that looks like a dead Martian in an exposed stone sarcophagi or grave. Now here's one end, here's like the end stone, and there's the stone at the back there. The stone from the front here is fallen away, and the end stone here is fallen away. Now this is another example of an extremely poor quality image, and when you zoom in, it turns to absolute crap. But you can see an arm, what looks like an arm, and a couple of legs maybe here, and something weird going on in the middle. Okay, so I'll show you the enhancements, because it really is a terrible, terrible image. I've got it up here. Here's the on the NASA page. That's the one I just showed you. Hang on, there it is. Now this is Sol 7011. Mass cam right. Sol 1107. Sorry, not 711. There it is, and it's by this kind of rather flat sort of piece of rock here, and it's very small. Now, if this is a coffin, and it does look like one, it's really small. It's only a couple of foot end to end. It may be a bit smaller even. So if this is a corpse, now if this is a corpse, it's small. It's no more than 2 foot long. Absolutely no way is that more than 2 feet. But unfortunately, the image quality is pretty terrible. But I did my usual trickery on this to try and smooth it out a bit, and I brightened it and added some contrast and white balanced it and everything else. But there does seem to be a head here with what looks like a helmet or a conical shaped head with a chin here with like a beard, a bit like Father Christmas, little nose there, eye here, arm, this shoulder here, a blue tunic or top, whatever that might be. This is the shoulder, torso here, and there seems to be like a leg here and a leg here, kind of. Now, whether they're two short legs with 2 feet here, or the legs come right to here, I can't tell you. Let me show you a more sharpened up version of that. This is the final one I did. This is the final enhancement, where I sharpened it and brightened it a bit and darkened it a bit. And you can clearly see that this looks like one end of a coffin, a stone coffin, and this is the back end, like the back side of it. There would have been another side here, where this straight rock is here. There would have been a side here, and then another end here, which is collapsed or eroded away. And there's some weird stuff down here, but I can't make out what it is. There's some weird little pieces here. And there also seems to be something like a greenish colour there, golden sort of colour maybe, golden sort of green colour. Whether that's actually there or not, don't know, but there are some interesting colours in here. So that if this is a corpse, and it may not be, there seems to be like a little cushion or block underneath the head, supporting the head, and an arm. Let's go back a bit, because if you get too close, you really can't see anything. An arm here going over the body. There seems to be a hand or some sort of detail there. There's something weird here, just here. But this looks like a thigh, the left thigh, rear end here, knee here, shin going down here, and foot here. And the other leg seems to be underneath that leg, coming out here, if you catch my drift. But I may be wrong, and a lot of this may be damaged, and some of it may have eroded away or broken off. But what I cannot make out is what this is here. Some of you might have an idea. There's something at this end. Now, whether that's his foot, or there's an object next to him, or perhaps another corpse. It could be a child, or it could be a woman, or it could be more than one person in this grave. It was common on Earth, and still is, for people to be buried together. But there's something very strange in the middle here, and it's kind of square. There's some sort of straight object here. Now, on Earth, we do bury things with. We certainly used to bury things with people. Armour, weapons, trinkets, valuables, that kind of thing, gold, whatever. So who knows, if this is a grave and this is an open sort of broken open casket, stone casket, then there could be burial items in here as well, and some of these little details here may be burial items that have kind of spilled out, or are just lying there, you know. I mean, this could be the side of the coffin here, part of it here, which is fallen forward. There's also some weird little things here, don't know what they are. There's not enough detail here to really determine exactly what this is. But to me, it does look like a corpse, and this is the head, eye, nose, mouth, beardy sort of chin, sort of an ear here, and what looks like a little helmet, or hat or something. Arm here, shoulder here, stomach, chest here, leg coming around here, and another leg kind of poking underneath that one, and something else here. I really can't make it out. I will try and do some more enhancements to this and do it a bit more brightening and stuff, and see if I can drag out more detail, but I'm not going to promise much, because really these images are so badly degraded. I would say that this particular soul has been degraded by about 60%. Now each time they save these images or process them, they compress them by 30%. So I actually think these have been double compressed. They've been processed twice, at least twice. So we are seeing almost no detail whatsoever. Now this should have detail. When you look at the source image, you can also see it in other images. This guy appears in about 3 images. You can see him on the edge of this one. Now look how close it is to the rover. The rover's just here, down here, and it's literally a few feet away. So this is probably only about 1 foot long, maybe 2 foot long at the most. But look, there's absolutely no detail to be had, and this is right by the rover. This is absolutely incredible how much they've managed to damage and distort the information in these images. It's absolutely disgusting. I really am quite annoyed about this, because this could well turn out to be a very, very important find. And you know, there's absolutely no detail when you zoom into these things. But those particular ones seem to be worse than all the others in this particular soul. So, I mean, some of these are bad, but they don't seem quite so bad. It's almost like those particular images with this in are worse than the rest in that set. And there's also this thing as well, which I thought was interesting. That is a bit of cut stone, absolutely no doubt about it. Look at that. Look at the angle on that, absolutely perfect, just there. That is ruler straight. Let's go up to the edge of the screen. Oh, look at that. That is almost perfect to the edge of the screen there. Absolutely amazing. I've got it up here, I've got a clip of that, and I've got it enhanced. There we go. I've just changed the contrast on it. And you can see that. Look at that. You cannot tell me that that is a natural wind-eroded rock. It is certainly isn't. Anyone who says it is pulling your leg. Seriously. That is absolutely not. And look how straight that is. You go up to the edge. And if I tilted it a little bit, that would be perfectly straight and would match the edge there. So there we go. There's some interesting stuff in this Sol 1107. But the corpse, let's have another quick look at that. And I'll show you the raw image again. Extremely poor quality. Look at the loss of detail is absolutely incredible. Even, I mean, you try and clean this up, and it's very, very difficult indeed to get anything out of this at all. It really is unbelievable. That one's slightly better, I think. I did a couple of versions of this. This one's a bit better because I enlarged it a bit less, and I sharpened it a bit more, as you can see. So there we go. Is it a corpse in a broken open coffin, stone coffin? Certainly looks like one to me. I could be way off the mark. It could be something else. But this is Mars. We never really know. And is it Pareidolia? Could be. Is it natural? Could be. Is it a corpse in a grave? Could be. Don't rule anything out, as I always say. Mars is a very strange place, and everything is a different scale to what we see down here. These things are much, much smaller than people realise. And there are other burial artefacts like this one, which many of you may have seen already, which I published recently. I didn't find this, someone else did. There's a link to the person who found this, I can't remember offhand. and when you enhance it, it's a coffin, a sarcophagi with a lid. You can see the lid here, and a very blatantly manufactured end part to it here. That is not natural. With a head, this end. There's some sort of detail here as well. So there's all sorts in this area, and some people said, why would a coffin just be sat there on the side of a ridge? Well, why wouldn't it? These ridges were once probably completely buried. These ridges were probably buried deep in sand, and the sand is obviously blown away, exposing coffins and burial sites. There he is, and you can even see a kind of cross on this one. I mean, this looks like a Catholic priest. Absolutely insane. Just mind-blowing. And there's this one as well, which looks like a stone coffin. Now, this probably is what that other thing would have looked like before it was completely wrecked. This one has the lid still on it, and even has what looks like glyphs along the side here. And when you see it in negative, you can actually see the shapes of the glyphs much more clearly. So there are lots of these things in the area, and it does seem that this part of Gale Crater, at least some of it, was covered or was used as a burial area, and there are lots and lots of strange mounds all over the place, and what look like coffins and burial items everywhere. They're all over the place, and a lot of these little people that I think some people think they're seeing on the Mars surface are not little people at all. I think they're probably small burial artifacts. Now, if these people were only a foot or two tall and only this long, like this guy, I mean, that's maybe 1 foot, maybe 2 foot, probably somewhere in between. Now, if they are only that big, their burial items and personal effects would also be very small. And I wonder whether some of these little things down here, maybe little burial items that were buried, like little statuettes. So when people are actually seeing what they think are very, very small 1 or 2 inch people on the surface, not only is there not enough detail to determine that, but what they may well be seeing are burial items, figurines, very small figurines, which are probably only 1 inch or 2 high. If the people are that small, then their burial items would be even smaller than ours. So that's something to think about, okay? So all you researchers out there who think you're seeing tiny little people, what you may be seeing, and this is only a suggestion, are small figurines that were once buried with these people in these coffins and grave areas and burial mounds. So food for thought there, everybody. Okay, I'll call it a day there. I've already gone too long, I think, on this. I'll put some clips of this stuff in at the end. Thanks for watching, everybody. I'll see you soon.